Hi, this video is to show you how to test the FHIRBridge with FHIRBase. So what you are seeing here, I have everything installed on a virtual machine. So the first thing I will do, just for starting with a clean database, is I will delete everything in the current database. We have a small script there. This is FHIRBase, and then I will run the build of FHIRBase. This is running the last build of FHIRBase. While this is running, what you need to have installed is Insomnia REST client. This is used to send the requests to FHIRBridge. You can Google Insomnia REST client, and it's just a couple of clicks to install. Then if you go to the FHIRBridge project, you will find under source test resources a couple of files named Insomnia. You can take the last one here and you import that into Insomnia. To import into Insomnia, you will, the first time you run Insomnia, you will see this will be empty. So what you do is you go here to this arrow, click on that, import, export, import data from file, and you just go find the FHIRBridge source test resources, and you just select that one and click on import. Yeah, I won't import that because I already have the requests. What this will create is this folder here with a set of requests used to test the FHIRBridge. Yeah, I will show you this in a minute. This is running, so the FHIRBase is running. Now I will run the FHIRBridge. Let me see if I have this here now. Java. This is under target. This is lib. Let me check the name. No, it's not there. There is the file. Java -jar target FHIRBridge. Another thing that I like to run here is Wireshark. Wireshark is a network sniffer. So sudo Wireshark also is available to install with a couple of clicks. It's not difficult, and it's available for Linux and Windows and Mac OS. So what I choose here is to use the local address, the local IP, the loopback, and I will monitor TCP port 8080. This is the port of FHIRBase, where FHIRBase is running right now. So this will monitor anything that comes in and goes out this specific port. Yeah. So that will stay capturing some stuff there. Yeah, let's see if the FHIRBridge is running. The FHIRBridge is running. The port of the FHIRBridge is 8888. If we check that, let's start. You can see this is FHIRBase, this is FHIRBridge. Yeah, and the rest doesn't matter. Yeah, this is, for example, the database that is running on my machine. Yeah, this is Postgres, but that's it. Yeah, this is running, this is running. So I have FHIRBase, FHIRBridge, and EHR base is empty. So if you use these posts here, yeah, you will send some file resources to the FHIRBridge. This is localhost 8888, yeah. But those will refer to a patient, yeah. And if the patient doesn't exist in EHR base, the request will be rejected. Yeah, so I can try to show you how that works. I will send that just this to create a body temperature measurement. Yeah, this is the FHIR resource. And I should get an error or something like that. The first requests take longer because both applications need to warm up. And we can check. This is the connection to the server. This is taking too long. There. So I have here an error. This is the EHR doesn't exist for the patient, blah, blah, blah. This is the patient ID that we have here. Yeah. And this is the FHIRBridge checking in EHR base if the patient referenced by the FHIR resource exists or doesn't exist. Yeah. So that is the first thing to do. We need to create an EHR for that patient in the EHR base. Yeah. And here I will show you if I just filter for HTTP. I have here the request to the FHIRBridge and the response from the FHIRBridge. No, sorry. This is the request from the FHIRBridge to EHR base, and this is the response from EHR base. That should be that. If I check this, yeah. So what we do from the FHIRBridge is just execute a query to get the EHR ID for that specific patient, and this is the result from the query, and you can see that there are no rows here. Yeah. So that's it. So I will create an EHR for that patient, and you can see this is the patient ID that I use for testing. Yeah, you can in Insomnia you can auto generate this. For example, you can say this is a UUID, and this will help you to create many EHRs or different EHRs. And with this we can get EHRs, for example, and I here I use the fixed value. Yeah, so we actually need to fix the value here. I wanted just to show you some features that the Insomnia has. Yeah, so we actually need to have this here fixed. So, and this is going to 8080. So this is actually create an EHR in EHR base, not going through the FHIRBridge. So I will create that one. This is also taking long because it's the first request, so the server needs to warm up. I get a successfully created response, and if I try to get the EHR using that subject ID, I should get the same result here. Yeah, and this result is actually used on the other requests. For example, here, this is a variable referencing the get EHR requests and getting the value from the response. And this is just a JSON path that references to this here. Yeah. So that is used to have the same patient ID on all the requests. Yeah. So now if I re-execute this, I should get a correct response because the patient has an EHR in EHR base now. Yeah, I get a successful response. And if we get this capture here, you can see all the requests from and to EHR base. So this is, let's see, this is the request to create the EHR with the EHR status here and the patient ID here. And we got a response that was correctly created. Yeah. And then this is the get EHR by subject ID, and we got the same EHR back. So these are the two requests that we executed here. So it's nice to have Insomnia to double check everything that goes in and comes out. And then we have this. This is another query. It's like the first query that checks if the patient has an EHR, and actually the response says, yeah, the patient has an EHR and the EHR ID is this one. And the second request, these are requests sent from FHIRBridge to EHR base, is actually to create the composition, the clinical document, yeah, inside that EHR. Yeah, that is why this EHR ID is on the second request URL. Yeah, because this is EHR, this is the EHR ID composition, so post this composition to that EHR. This composition was mapped from the FHIR resource. So basically the FHIRBridge, what it does is it takes this resource, maps this data model to an OpenEHR data model, and commits that data model, that is OpenEHR, and the model is the composition, to the EHR base. So yeah, so that is what the second request was showing there. Once you send some resources, I will create more than one. That is the second one, third one. So I am just creating for the body temperature, but you can test the rest. Yeah, you can execute the search. Yeah, and this is a search for body temperature. So I will get the results that I submitted before. Yeah. So here, this is a get instead of a post. Yeah, this is when you do a get, it executes the get the search or find FHIR operation. Yeah. And you can have several parameters for filtering and searching. Yeah. For instance, what we use for the observations, we have different profiles for the observation. So we need to say, use this profile. So filter by these profiles. And I just want to get body temperature results. Yeah. So I filter by the profile body temperature. Yeah. Identifier is the identifier of the patient. So I want to get from the FHIRBridge observations that are body temperature, but for one specific patient. Yeah. And I can filter those results by date range. And the way this works in FHIR in general is you can have a lower limit, a higher limit, and you can have any combination of those. So you can omit one of those. So you want to get the body temperature observations that the date is greater than this date, and the operation, the comparison operation, is inside the value. This is FHIR. Yeah, this is the FHIR protocol. You can have both, or you can have just the higher boundary here. So everything that is lower than this date. Yeah. And since we are on September 4th, I will put September 5 here. And also you can have a filtering by the value. So this is body temperature. So I want any body temperature that the value, that is a quantity, is greater than 37. This is 37 degrees. Yeah. So using this, and if let me show you what happens if I get an empty result. So I'm filtering by the date there, that is a previous date and today. I should get an empty result. Yeah, and the result is a file resource that is called bundle. Bundle is basically a list of resources or a set of resources. Yeah, and I will show you how that looks here in a second also. Yeah, there we have the results, and we have the bundle. We have the filtering is not by the date of the submission, is by the date of the measurement. Yeah, I forgot that. So I need to check when this was tested. So this is March. So I will put this on, this is April, sorry, I will put this on March. So here I got all the results. Yeah, I got 3 total because the date of measurement was on March, and was lower than my higher boundary. So these are the resources that I sent before, but are mapped from the OpenHR data. So basically what this does, I will show you that how that works in FHIRBridge. What we have here is a query. This is how the search works. We have a query when we get a search operation in the FHIRBridge. The FHIRBridge does a query in FHIRBridge. FHIRBridge tries to check for all the data that is needed to map back to the file resources, and uses the values that I pass as parameters, yeah, here as filters for the query. Yeah, so you can see the magnitude is 37, the date also parameter here, the patient ID also here, and the template. Since what we do is we mapped file resources and file profiles to OpenHR templates. So basically what we are doing is transforming the profile ID into a template ID for OpenHR. And the filters for we transform those from FHIR to OpenHR filters for the query. So from this query, I'm getting all the results that I need to map back to the FHIR resource and the bundle. Yeah. So this is the result in OpenHR. This is OpenHR data, and what the FHIRBridge does is it goes through the results and generates each resource in the bundle. Yeah, so everything that you see here is mapped back from OpenHR. So we do in the post the opposite mapping from the FHIR resource to OpenHR data, and for the search we do OpenHR data to FHIR, and we return FHIR. Yeah, if I send, let me try with this filter. Yeah, with this one I should get an empty result. So this is the total 0. We don't get any resource list for the bundle, and that's okay. Yeah, and that is basically how it works. There is another operation that was implemented just for the condition, that is the operation to get. So for the condition we have a post, so we can create conditions. There was an issue there. What's the problem? Let me check. I need to check that. Maybe something changed in the last develop branch. I might need to check that. But the idea with the conditions, I will fix this. I will check this and get back. The idea with the condition is you can create a condition, you can search for conditions, and the search works in the same way. And then you can actually get a condition by ID, and you can see to search is also a get, but goes to the resource in the URL. But when you want to get one specific resource, it's the same URL plus the ID of that resource. Yeah. I can't show you how this works. I need to check why that failed, and I can double check if that has something to do with the network. Here, yeah, I got a 400. So this seems to be an error in FHIRBridge. Yeah. This is an error from FHIRBridge. It seems the composer is not here. I need to check that. So it seems it wants the composer to be on the composition, but it is not. Yeah, I need to check this. This was working. Maybe it's something that we changed lately. But yeah, it's an easy fix. So I will do that later. But this is the basic testing that you can do. We created a documentation, and the documentation should be available on the documentation project. I'm not sure if that is published yet. What you can do is go to the documentation project, and you can see what we have in the documentation project. What we have is this is the build of the documentation. This just talks about the internal technology stack. So this is the technology stack that we use. The decisions, the design decisions, this is not a generic component. It doesn't map anything to anything automatically. You need to actually create the mappings in an ad hoc way, mapping each FHIR profile to the corresponding OpenHR template, and map things back and forth. So you need the bidirectional mapping to support the search functionality and the get functionality. That is one thing. Testing this section is basically what I show you, how to test the FHIRBridge. This explains how the create operation works. So the first thing that we tested here with the body temperature, and some references to the code, to internal code. So you have some support on reading the code by taking a look at this documentation. The search operation flow is similar. What it explains what happens when a search functionality like the body temperature search that I executed works, and some references to the code are included here also. So this is the operation that receives all the parameters that I show you. And also there is a small comment about the read operation, that is basically the get by ID. Yeah. We will add, I guess, next week some documentation about adding new profiles and extending the FHIRBridge to add your mappings. So for that I need some support, but we'll be there soon. And this documentation is here. If you go to FHIRBridge documentation, you will find the source here, and this is not yet merged So the FHIRBridge documentation, you will find that in the feature branch, this that says FHIRBridge documentation. So here is the documentation, and you will find that here on this section, and this will be the documentation. Yeah, and it's nice that actually GitHub renders that for you. So basically here is the same document as I showed before, so you don't need to actually build the documentation. If you have any questions, just let me know. I'm on the PLRI Slack, so I can answer any questions. Yeah, so thank you and see you later. Bye bye.